One of the coolest things about playing with your neurotransmitters and the amino acids for me was I had some experiences in my life where I had taken substances that by their nature automatically balance your neurotransmitters. And so places in my life where I had always had low neurotransmitters and I just was a certain way, all of a sudden changed. I became different, like just like that, almost overnight, actually shorter than overnight. And so recent research, and Eric Braverman is the one who provided most of this stuff. This is a fascination for him, is when he looked at his patients, he would not only assess where their neurotransmitter balances are, but he also looked at their personality types and their characteristics, the personality characteristics. And what he found where there are distinct patterns between neurotransmitter imbalances, so if you're low dopamine, then by nature you're going to be more introverted. You're not going to want to be social. And that was my life for the longest time. And then all of a sudden I had an experience or multiple experiences where I had done things that all of a sudden I had high dopamine, and all of a sudden I become extroverted. And I love connecting with people instead of running in the corner and hiding. All of a sudden I feel like I just want to go hang out with people. And it was the most bizarre thing. What if your personality and your temperament has actually very little to do with you and has more to do with the chronic levels of your neurotransmitters? So let's look at this. So there are people who are thinking and feeling like as their dominant way of being, and people who are thinking are low serotonin people. So there's something about serotonin that causes people to revert to thinking to resolve everything rather than feeling and connecting. People who had high serotonin were very feely, warm people, but they weren't very thinking people. They didn't want to necessarily process something. When your serotonin is balanced, all of a sudden you can be thinking or feeling. You have access to both. Same with introvert, extrovert. When your dopamine is balanced, all of a sudden you have access to both introverted and extroverted. Like it's a choice, moment by moment. It's not something where you're stuck on one side of the paradigm or the other. So people who had low GABA were traditionally adaptable. They were curious people. They loved to experience and explore new things. They were more spontaneous. Where people who had high GABA were normally very structured, very methodical, very organized, very judging, you get that. So when you're balanced, you now have the capacity to be more flexible and to be more structured based on what's kind of most appropriate for the moment. Acetylcholine, somebody who has low acetylcholine is a realist. Somebody who's like, this is just the facts. This is just the way life is. There's all these horrible things in this world, and that's just the way it is. That's just real. All your fluffy, good wishes things, all bullshit. Not true. This is what's real. The people who have high acetylcholine are the creative types, the dreamers, the visionaries who see beyond what the realists see, and they see the possibility, and they have hope, and they have new potentials available. They're the creative folks. So if you have a balanced acetylcholine, you can be both a realist and a creative dreamer at the same time, or pop back and forth based on what your circumstance desires. So this was a fascinating. I saw this. It just blew me out of the water because I had experienced it. All of a sudden, there were times where I was very feeling or very thinking or very adaptable or very structured or very out there and creative or just down to earth. And I didn't seem to have any control over it, which irritated me. once I found this, I realized why I didn't have control over it, and I had a solution to it. When I have my dopamine, serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine balanced, all of a sudden, I can be either of those. I'm not stuck in one paradigm or the other. And he furthered his work, and he looked into other kind of archetypes of being. For instance, the loner. He found that people who were loners, they traditionally had high GABA, low dopamine. People who were really shy and like they just can't be around other people very well, but they're like painfully shy, sweet, caring, polite, but like, you get it. They have high serotonin, but low GABA. People who are nurturing, they need to nurture others, but not necessarily nurturing of themselves, high GABA, low dopamine. People who are drama queens and really out there and really flamboyant, they have high dopamine, high energy, low GABA. People who are self-absorbed, they're just, kind of doing their own thing and they don't particularly care about anybody else, high dopamine, low serotonin. The rule breakers, the rebels, high dopamine, low GABA. People who are fighters, they're kind of those people who struggle with everything. High dopamine, low GABA. Also, the perfectionists, we all know those types, or you may have been one. High GABA, low acetylcholine. Procrastinators, high serotonin, low acetylcholine. So you think it's you and you wonder why you struggle with sometimes procrastinating. What if it has nothing to do with you and it's just about your balance? And that's it. It's just about your balance. Abuse me personality, the people who are always self-sacrificing and they're always trying to help other people, but they're never trying to help themselves. Their pattern is high serotonin, low GABA, and low dopamine. The people who are traditionally eccentric, and just kind of have all these unusual kind of out there behaviors, high serotonin, low dopamine, unstable personalities, and that kind of covers a lot of ground, but high dopamine, low GABA, and people who are very suspicious and they don't trust anybody, high dopamine, low serotonin. So what's interesting is if you recognize yourself in any of these, you can actually change it, ta-da, by simply bringing up the thing that you're low in. When that is high as well, you now have choice. You can be shy if you want, or you can be out there and social if you want. You're not stuck in one pattern anymore. So this, when I saw this, just kind of was like, whoa, what if your personality and your temperament has everything to do with your brain chemistry and nothing to do with you? You know what that means? Now you can change it. All you have to do is balance your amino acids. Good to go. Good to go. Let's do this.